It's midnight in Soweto. In a tiny house, all is quiet. Then bam, a door crashes open. Winnie Mandela jerks awake, heart pounding. Blinding flashlight beams slice through the darkness as police swarm her home. They tear through drawers and cupboards, overturning chairs, scattering papers. Her daughters Zenani and Zinzi scream in terror. Winnie leaps from bed and shouts, "My children, please," as she gathers her daughters in her arms. But rough hands yank her away.
"Mama, don't take my mama."
The girls cling to their mother's nightdress, sobbing as uniformed officers drag her into the cold night. Her heart rages with fear and defiance. In that harrowing moment, her children's cries echoing behind her, Winnie's resolve only hardens. This is the price she pays for being the wife of Nelson Mandela and for daring to raise her voice against apartheid, and she is willing to pay it every time. A cell door slams, darkness, silence. Winnie stands in the blackness, chest heaving, but she refuses to break. Be strong. You must be strong for them. She steels herself. This will not be the end of her story. To understand how Winnie became this unbreakable woman, we need to go back to the beginning. Hi, and welcome to The Kingmakers, the podcast about the hidden heroes behind historic triumphs. I am your host, Romeo Richards, CEO of the African Caribbean Matchmaking Agency. We help Black singles become the best version of themselves and connect them to other top-quality Black singles. I am delighted that you are joining me today. In this series, we shine a light on the spouses and partners who have helped great leaders and innovators reach their heights. The husbands, wives, friends, and loved ones who quietly turn dreamers into kings and queens. Our mission is simple: to uncover the untold stories of how the right partner, aligned with your dreams and values, can change the trajectory of your life and even history. In each episode, we will dive into an intimate, story-driven portrait of a famous figure's other half, distilling lessons on love, support, and personal growth. This is not just about giving credit where it is due, though that is important. It is about learning what makes a relationship truly empowering. Whether you are a values-driven single seeking your ideal teammate or someone reflecting on the power of relationships in your own life, this podcast will offer insight, inspiration, and yes, a few tears and laughs along the way. For every laugh, expect a tear. We believe that great stories blend both emotions. The Kingmakers is about hope and optimism in relationships. The earnest belief that the right partner can help you become more fully yourself and accomplish more than you ever dreamed alone. Before we dive into today's story, I want to invite you to do something personal. Think of someone in your life who has been a kingmaker for you, someone who believed in you, supported you, or challenged you in a way that changed your life's direction for the better. It might be a spouse or romantic partner, but it could just as well be a family member, a close friend, or a mentor. Hold that person in your mind as you listen. Maybe even dedicate this episode to them in your heart. Great achievements rarely happen in isolation. If you have a queen or king maker in your life, consider reaching out to thank them. Write down their name and your message of gratitude in the comment below to let them know you are dedicating this series to them. One more note before we begin. This podcast is for education and inspiration, not therapy or professional advice. We will be discussing real relationships and personal journeys, which can sometimes trigger strong emotions. If any story brings up personal distress for you, please seek support from a qualified mental health professional. Take care of yourself. These stories are meant to inspire hope, not cause harm. Now, let's step into our next Kingmaker story. Today's Kingmaker is Winnie Mandela, the freedom fighter wife who stood up to the South African regime and won her husband's and nation's freedom. It is the story of love, sacrifice, extraordinary bravery, and resilience beyond human imagination. One day in Johannesburg in 1957, it is early morning. A 22-year-old social worker with bright, searching eyes waits at a busy Soweto bus stop. This is Nomzamo Winifred Madikizela Winnie. She is smart, ambitious, fiercely compassionate, already fighting poverty as the city's first black female social worker. A tall, charismatic lawyer approaches Nelson Mandela, 16 years her senior. Nelson is already a firebrand in the anti-apartheid movement. He spots Winnie standing at the bus stop in the crisp morning light and is utterly captivated by the elegant young woman. He flashes a warm grin and strikes up a conversation.
Good morning, sister. Beautiful day, isn't it? Forgive me, I don't usually do this, but I feel I must introduce myself. I am Nelson Mandela.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Mandela.
Please call me Nelson. I have seen you here before, haven't I? You work around here?
I'm a social worker at Baragwanath Hospital. And you? You look more like a politician than a commuter.
Guilty. I'm a lawyer and a bit of a troublemaker, some might say. Tell me, are you always up so early helping people?
It is my passion. There is so much need in our communities. If we don't help each other, who will?
Nelson is struck by her dedication. Crowds jostle around them as buses come and go, but these two only see each other. Within minutes, he boldly asks her to lunch the next week. Winnie raises an eyebrow at his directness, then lets out a warm laugh.
All right, Mr. Mandela, lunch it is. Tuesday?
Tuesday. It is a date.
He flashes a broad smile.
Until then, Hulumle, stay as beautiful as you are.
That lunch date blooms into a whirlwind romance. Nelson is still technically married at the time they meet, but his troubled first marriage soon ends, so Nelson proposes to Winnie. Around June 1958, beneath the winter sun, Winnie is radiant in her white dress. Newly married to Nelson in a traditional ceremony, she dances and laughs, filled with hope for their future together. Nelson twirls his new bride, and they both beam. The celebration resounds with ululation, song, and the exuberant optimism of young love. Nelson whispering into Winnie's ear,
"You have made me the happiest man alive. Mentakwetu."
Meaning my sister in Exosa, Winnie said softly.
And you have given me a cause larger than myself.
They share a gentle kiss as family and friends cheer, but life as Mrs. Mandela is anything but a fairy tale. The newlyweds go into their marital home in a country in turmoil. Apartheid's grip is tightening, and resistance is met with brutal force. Nelson, already deeply involved in the struggle, is constantly on the move, organizing protests, attending secret meetings, and dodging police. Winnie soon finds their tiny house in Orlando West, rattled by 5 a.m. Police raids with terrifying regularity.
Open up! Police! Open this door!
Winnie, heavily pregnant with their first child, jolts awake as fists thunder against the door. Nelson leaps out of bed. Winnie is expecting their baby any day, but the police show no mercy. They barge in, rifles gleaming.
Stand aside. We are searching the premises for banned materials.
They tear through the house. Nelson stands protectively in front of Winnie.
"You have no right to terrorize my family. Please, my wife is with child, let her rest."
Shut up, Mandela. We know who you are. One day we will deal with you.
They push past him, tossing books off shelves, upending a cupboard. Winnie winces, one hand on her belly. An officer waves a booklet triumphantly.
Ha! Look what we have here. ANC pamphlets. Is it? Communists.
There is nothing illegal there. Leave, now. You have scared my wife enough.
The police eventually leave with sneers and mutters, slamming the door. Winnie exhales shakily. Nelson gathers her into his arms.
How much longer, Nelson? How long must we live like this, in fear, at gunpoint in our own home?
I am so sorry, Mama. I wish I knew. Until our country is free, we have no choice.
Despite the harassment, Winnie refuses to be intimidated. Later that year, even while visibly pregnant, she joins a protest of African women against the hated pass laws, one of the first to defy the regime's rules. The police crack down on the protest, and Winnie is arrested and jailed. She experiences firsthand the squalor and cold brutality of apartheid prisons. Inside a cramped cell, Winnie, one hand on her swollen belly, steadies herself. Rats scurry in the corner. She is exhausted, scared for her unborn child, but her eyes burn with determination.
If they think this will scare me, they are wrong. I will endure this for my baby, for Nelson, for our people.
Nelson manages to bail her out after 2 weeks. As he helps her out of the jail, he looks at her with concern and pride.
Winnie, my love, are you all right?
I am.
She replied, smiling faintly.
Don't worry, I won't break so easily. They only strengthened my resolve.
Winnie emerges more determined than ever to fight side by side with him. At home that night, sitting on the floor with baby Zenani asleep in Winnie's arms, the room is lit by a single candle, casting dancing shadows on the wall. They whisper their dreams to each other, sharing gentle jokes to ease the stress.
You know, I had to really charm you at that bus stop. I worried you'd say no to lunch.
Oh, you mean when you practically demanded I date you? Yes, very charming indeed.
What can I say? I saw a beautiful, strong woman, and I could not let her get away. You are my revolution in a pretty dress.
And you are my wise old man in a young man's game, 16 years older, and still so full of mischief.
They both laugh quietly, careful not to wake the baby. For a moment, there is peace, two lovers dreaming of a better future. But outside their tiny home, the shadows of apartheid loom ever larger. By 1961, open, peaceful protest has given way to underground resistance. Nelson has co-founded the ANC's new military wing and gone into hiding. He becomes South Africa's most wanted man, nicknamed the Black Pimpernel for his disguises and narrow escapes. Winnie sees less and less of him as he moves clandestinely, organizing the struggle. Every secret visit could be the last. One pale winter dawn in August 1962, Winnie stands in their small Soweto home, watching Nelson quietly pack a small suitcase after one of his secret visits. Today, he will leave on another business trip, their coded term for an ANC mission. But Winnie feels a chill of dread. She cradles their infant daughter, Zinzi, on her hip, while toddler Zenani plays on the floor with a rag doll. Nelson kneels to kiss Zenani's forehead.
Be good, Zenny. Take care of your mom and baby sister.
Zenani giggles and hugs her father's neck. Nelson rises and takes baby Zinzi in his arms, holding her close. Winnie pours him a cup of tea, trying to hide the worry in her eyes as she straightens the collar of his coat. He is wearing an old chauffeur's uniform as a disguise. Today he will drive out of town posing as a driver. Winnie's hands tremble slightly as she smooths his tie.
I packed some sandwiches for your drive. Please be careful, Nelson.
I will, my love. I hate leaving you and the girls, but this will be over one day.
He pauses, studying her face, as if memorizing it. For a moment, his calm facade slips, and Winnie sees the flicker of fear in his eyes. He quickly masks it with a reassuring smile.
I will be back soon, I promise. It is just a quick trip.
He squeezes her hand. Winnie musters a brave smile and nods, refusing to let her tears show. She never imagines this will be their last morning together as a free couple. Nelson shoulders his bag and heads for the door. The early sun casts a long shadow of him across the doorstep. He turns back one more time.
I love you, Winnie.
I love you too. Come home safe.
He walks away down Vilakazi Street, the rising sun at his back. Winnie stands in the doorway, baby on her hip, watching until he rounds the corner and is gone. A terrible heaviness settles in her chest.
Why do I feel like I might never see him again? Stop it, Nomzamo. He promised he'd be back.
She closes the door and presses her forehead against it, a single tear escaping down her cheek. Outside, the day moves on as normal, but for Winnie, time has frozen with worry. That afternoon, Winnie tries to keep busy at home to quell her unease. She washes the breakfast dishes, tidies the children's clothes, anything to keep her mind from wandering to dark places. Suddenly, rapid footsteps approach outside. A neighbor bursts through the gate, breathless and panicked.
Winnie, open up.
Winnie rushes out to the porch, heart in her throat.
What is it? What happened?
The neighbor's face is ashen.
It's Nelson. They have arrested him. Caught him at a roadblock near Howick on the way from Durban.
Winnie's vision blurs. The porcelain teacup she's holding slips from her hand and shatters on the ground. For a heartbeat, the world stands still. Winnie's ears ring. She can hardly breathe. She imagines Nelson surrounded by police on a lonely road, guns trained on him, his arms raised.
No, God, please, not now.
Zenani, sensing her mother's distress, starts to cry from inside the house. That pulls Winnie out of her daze. Her heart hammering, she steadies herself against the doorframe.
Where did they take him? Did anyone say?
I don't know. They just said, he has been taken into custody. I am so sorry.
Winnie draws a sharp breath. Tears prick her eyes, but she forces them back. She straightens up, wiping her eyes quickly before the neighbor can see.
Thank you. I will manage.
The neighbor nods helplessly and leaves. Winnie closes the door and slides down to the floor, her back against the wood. Little Zinzi, sensing the tension, begins to wail from her crib. Zenani toddles over, frightened. Winnie gathers her daughters tightly to her.
Shh! Mama's here. Mama's here. Don't worry, my angels.
That night, after putting the children to bed, Winnie sits alone by the kitchen table. A single candle flickers in the darkness. The silence of the house is deafening without Nelson's warm laughter. Winnie clenches her hands, staring at the fragile flame.
Be strong for him. I have to be strong for him.
Outside, the quiet darkness of Soweto feels heavier than ever. Winnie closes her eyes, tears finally spilling free down her cheeks. In her mind, she sees Nelson's smile, hears his voice promising he will be back. She vows silently into the candlelight.
They will not break us. I will make sure the world knows his name. I will keep the flame alive until he is free.
The months after Nelson's arrest are a blur of anguish and uncertainty for Winnie. He is initially sentenced to 5 years on minor charges, but the government soon decides to bury the liberation movement for good. In 1963, while Nelson is in prison, many of his comrades are captured at a secret hideout in Rivonia. The infamous Rivonia trial begins for sabotage against Nelson Mandela, and 9 co-accused, a charge that carries the death penalty. Winnie finds herself swept into a nightmare courtroom drama that grips the world. Winnie arrives each day, dressed in dignified restraint. The authorities have warned her not to cause any incidents. Inside, her heart churns. She is permitted only the briefest glimpses of Nelson across the crowded courtroom. He sits in the dock with his comrades, thinner than before, yet unbroken in spirit. Winnie takes her seat in the public gallery, clutching a handkerchief tightly in her lap. She scans for her husband. Finally, their eyes meet across the room. Nelson greets her with a small, warm smile and raises his fist slightly in salute, a forbidden gesture of solidarity. Winnie presses a hand to her heart and nods subtly, fighting the urge to cry.
Oh, Madiba, you are so brave. Can you feel me here with you?
During a brief recess, guards allow Winnie to approach the front for a brief moment. Nelson is about to be led back to his cell. He turns and catches sight of her. In a bold move, he flashes her a broad smile, as if to say, "Don't worry, I'm okay." Winnie manages a determined smile in return, Winnie whispering intensely,
I love you. Stay strong.
Nelson can't speak, but he mouths silently through the glass partition, "I love you. Be brave." A guard shoves him along, and he raises a manacled hand in a thumbs up to reassure her. Winnie's eyes burn with tears she refuses to shed in public. The trial stretches on for months. Evidence of sabotage, conspiracy, the state throwing everything at them. Winnie attends every session she can, a young mother of two, traveling miles to Pretoria to support her husband. Each night she returns to Soweto exhausted, missing Nelson's presence in their bed, wondering what the future holds. On June 12th, 1964 Judgment Day, the courtroom is packed. Diplomats, journalists, supporters, all crowd in to hear the verdict that will decide if Nelson lives or dies. Winnie sits rigidly in the front row of the gallery, her back straight as a rod. In her hands, that little handkerchief is twisted so tightly her knuckles are white. She barely slept last night. This could be it, she knows. They might hang him. The judge enters. A hush falls. Winnie's heart pounds in her ears. Nelson and his co-defendants stand in the dock. Nelson's face is calm. He has steeled himself for whatever comes, even death. Winnie bites her lip.
Defendants, please rise. On the charge of sabotage and conspiracy, this court finds the accused guilty on all counts.
Winnie's stomach lurches. Guilty. The word echoes like a thunderclap. Across the aisle, one of the accused mothers suppresses a sob. Winnie closes her eyes briefly, whispering a prayer. Please, not death. The judge clears his throat to pronounce the sentence. The entire room seems to hold its breath.
The sentence in the case of all the accused will be one of life imprisonment.
For a moment, silence. Did they hear right? Life imprisonment, not the death penalty? Then pandemonium. A shocked collective exhale. Murmurs of relief and disbelief swirl through the court. Winnie's hand flies to her mouth. Tears flood her eyes. Her husband will live. He will not hang. She clutches the railing in front of her as waves of relief and sorrow crash through her. Nelson and his co-defendants exchange astonished glances. Some smile in disbelief. Nelson catches Winnie's gaze. He gives a small nod and suddenly breaks into a broad smile, a smile of defiance and hope directed at his supporters. He even lifts his bound hands and gives a subtle thumbs-up sign. Winnie lets out a trembling laugh through her tears. She understands that smile. He is grateful. Grateful that he will live, that he will not leave her and the children as a martyr.
He is going to live. Thank God. He is going to live.
She bites down hard on her lip, determined not to weep openly before the apartheid authorities. Instead, she stands up tall. As the guards begin to lead Nelson and the others out, something incredible happens. Friends and family in the gallery, ignoring the stern glares of security, rise to their feet and begin to sing. It starts with a few voices. Winnie's friend, Albertina Sisulu, perhaps then spreads. The ancient hymn, the anthem of Africa, fills the courtroom. Nkosi Sikelelai Africa. God bless Africa. Their voices quaver with a mixture of joy and pain. Winnie joins in softly, her voice trembling and tearful, as tears finally roll down her cheeks. Nelson, Halfway to the door under guard, stops for a moment and turns. He meets Winnie's eyes across the courtroom one last time. Despite the chains, despite the life sentence just pronounced, his gaze is steady, full of unwavering love and pride. In that single look, they share everything. We will endure this. Nelson raises his hand in the ANC salute, the clenched fist, as the song swells around him. Morena Bolo Kase Chabasa Heso. The people sing for their heroes. Winnie chokes back a sob and raises her fist in return, singing through her tears. As Nelson Mandela is escorted away to begin his life term on Robben Island, Winnie feels both devastation and fierce pride flooding her heart. Devastation that her beloved will spend perhaps the rest of his life behind bars, and pride that he and his comrades faced their oppressors without flinching. When Nelson disappears through the door in a phalanx of guards, Winnie whispers to herself,
I will not let them break me or him.
It is a silent vow, a promise bound in love and tempered in fire. Outside the courthouse, crowds spill into the streets, singing freedom songs under the winter sun. Winnie stands on the courthouse steps, clutching Nelson's folded coat to her chest. The world around her roars with protest and song, but in that moment she has never felt more alone. Still, she wipes her tears, lifts her chin, and walks forward into an uncertain future, determined to keep Nelson's struggle alive, no matter the cost. Thus begins Winnie's 27-year odyssey as the warrior holding up Nelson's sky. With Nelson and the other leaders locked away, the government turned their anger to those left behind, especially on Winnie, who they knew was Mandela's rock and his voice on the outside. But Winnie was about to show the world the true meaning of courage. In June 1964, just weeks after Nelson's sentencing, Winnie undertakes a grueling 1,400-kilometer journey alone to visit Nelson at the notorious Robben Island prison. She rides a cramped train for days, then a rocky ferry across choppy seas to the bleak prison island. At last, she is led into a sterile visiting room. A wire mesh fence stretches floor to ceiling, separating her from where Nelson will appear. There will be no hugs, no holding hands, only words passed through steel and strict guards overseeing every move. Nelson is brought in, wearing prison grays. Winnie presses up to the mesh. For a brief moment, husband and wife simply stand there, eyes locked, their fingers reaching to touch through the tiny holes in the metal screen. They cannot quite feel each other's skin, only the cold wire. Nelson's hair has begun to gray. Winnie notices deep lines of hardship etched on his beloved face. She forces herself to smile brightly, pouring all her love and strength into that smile so he will feel it across the barrier. He smiles back, eyes shining with unshed tears. A guard looms close, listening to every word. They are forbidden to speak in Xhosa, their native tongue. Only English or Afrikaans are allowed. Winnie has to choose her words carefully. They exchange news about their daughters. Winnie whispers that the girls are growing fast, that Zenani is top of her class, that little Zinzi sings all day and reminds her of him. Nelson nods, blinking back tears, picturing the children he last saw as babies. Under her breath, Winnie sneaks in words of courage.
The world has not forgotten you, my love. I have not forgotten you. I never will.
Nelson's facade nearly breaks. He presses a hand to the mesh. His voice is just a choke of emotion.
Thank you, Mama. Keep them safe. Stay strong for us.
Winnie nods, swallowing the lump in her throat. She places her palm flat on the wire fence. Nelson does the same on his side. For a brief moment, it is as if they are touching. Then the guard barks that time is up. The visit is over. A mere 30 minutes flown by in a heartbeat.
I love you.
They start to pull Nelson away. He keeps his eyes on Winnie until the last second, disappearing behind steel doors once more. Winnie stands there trembling, her palm still on the cold mesh where his hand had been. Her heart is shattering, but she refuses to collapse. She straightens her back. On the long ferry ride home, through salty tears, she thinks, how many more times must I say goodbye to him? The answer in her soul comes back, as many times as it takes. Back in Soweto, Winnie throws herself into the struggle with renewed energy. In public, she becomes Nelson's living symbol, the face of the Mandela name, rallying the people with the cry, "Free Nelson Mandela." She stands fearlessly at the front of protest marches, often with baby Zinzi tied to her back. She gives speeches in crowded community halls, urging people not to give up hope. And for this, the security forces hound her relentlessly. They place her under a banning order, essentially house arrest, forbidding her from political activities or even leaving her township. Secret police tail her every move. If a kind neighbor offers her a job or help, they intimidate them until she is isolated. Employers are warned not to hire Mandela's wife. Bills pile up with no steady income. At one point, the furniture in her home is repossessed because Nelson's imprisonment means no salary. She returns from a legal hearing one day to find even the chairs and beds gone. That night, she sleeps on the cold floor beside her little girls, determined not to let them see her cry. Worst of all are the midnight raids. Over and over, sometimes without warning, police pound on her door in the dead hours before dawn. They barge in with flashlights and rifles, ransacking everything. Winnie stands tall in her nightdress as they turn her home inside out, paging through every book, lifting carpets, looking under beds, even yanking her sleeping children from their mattresses in the search for evidence. Little Zinani and Zinzi cling to Winnie's legs, sobbing in terror. Winnie holds them tight until officers drag her away, the girls screaming, "Mama, don't go." Time after time, they haul her off for overnight interrogations on flimsy excuses, then release her without charges. And each time, she returns home exhausted and outraged, tucking her traumatized daughters back into bed and comforting them.
Mama's here. Don't worry. Mama's here.
Later, alone in the dark, she allows herself a few silent tears of rage and sorrow. The warmth of Nelson's body in their bed has long been replaced by cold sheets and memories. But if the police think these tactics will cow her, they are mistaken. Every raid, every indignity only steals her determination. If they want to call me the Black Pimpernel's wife as an insult, fine, she thinks. I will be worthy of that name. She continues her activism however she can, covertly meeting with ANC contacts, helping raise funds for prisoner families, writing smuggled letters to anti-apartheid groups outside of the country. Every day apart from Nelson is an agony, but she channels that pain into purpose. Behind closed doors, she whispers bedtime stories to her daughters about their father's bravery, reminding them, "Daddy is a great man, fighting for what is right." In the still of the night, after the girls finally sleep, she stares at the ceiling and whispers into the darkness,
"We will carry on, Dalibunga. I will not let them erase you."
Then she wipes her eyes, lifts her chin, and prepares to face whatever new challenge dawn will bring. The years churn on, and the regime's grip grows even tighter. In May 1969, just before dawn, her nightmare reaches a new level of hell. The security branch comes for her again, but this time they don't intend to let her go. Another pre-dawn raid. By now she is almost used to being roused by that dreaded midnight knock and blinding torches through her windows. But on this night, as police kick open her door, her daughters happen to be home on school break. Zinani is 9 and Zinzi 8, old enough to fully understand the horror unfolding. Winnie barely has time to murmur comfort to them before the officers wrench her away.
Mama! Please, don't take my mommy.
Uniformed men drag Winnie out in handcuffs. She twists to look back and shouts as bravely as she can,
"I will be back soon. Be good girls, Mama loves you."
The van doors slam shut on her words. Inside the stifling police van, Her face crumples in anguish for a moment. The image of her little girl's tear-streaked face is burned into her mind. Then she closes her eyes and takes a deep breath, gathering every ounce of fortitude within her. They arrest her under Prime Minister John Vorster's new Terrorism Act, an ominous law that allows indefinite detention without trial for anyone deemed a threat. Her true crime is her unyielding voice and iconic status as Nelson's partner on the outside. Now, the regime is determined to break her once and for all. She is thrown into Pretoria Central Prison, a forbidding fortress of a jail. They shove her into a tiny concrete cell and slam the door. Immediately, heavy silence engulfs her, a suffocating quiet unlike anything she's ever experienced. Under the terms of her detention, for the first 200 days, she is not permitted any contact with another human being except her interrogators. 200 days with no touch, no conversation, not even a glimpse of her children or a lawyer. Just solitary confinement and the echo of her own heartbeat. Her cell is a concrete box, scarcely big enough to lie down in. The walls are damp and bare. The only items she has are a plastic water bottle, a tin mug, a bucket for sanitation without even a handle, and 3 thin, filthy, bug-infested blankets. There is no bed. There is no window. A single naked light bulb glares overhead day and night, never switched off, erasing any natural sense of time. Under that relentless light, days blend into nights in an endless haze. At first, she marks time by scratching faint lines on the wall, but she soon loses track. Is it Tuesday, Saturday, June? She cannot tell. Sleep becomes her only respite, but even that is stolen from her. The lights never dim, and guards deliberately make noise at odd hours to keep her disoriented. She paces the few steps her cell allows, humming struggle songs under her breath just to remind herself of sound. Sometimes she recites Bible verses or freedom slogans aloud, needing to hear a voice even if it is only her own, so she does not forget what one sounds like. The interrogations begin after she has been weakened by isolation. They yank her from the cell, march her down a dim corridor into a dingy interview room. There, Major Swanepoel, a notorious security branch officer, and others await her. They fire question after question about the ANC, about Nelson, about her comrades.
Give us the names of those helping you. Who are the contacts abroad? How are you communicating with Mandela?
Winnie sits, hands cuffed, back straight, and replies only with steely silence or the simplest denials. This enrages them. So, they try to break her body to unlock her tongue. They force her to stand for 5 days and 5 nights straight, preventing her from sleeping. Each time she nods off from exhaustion, a guard slams the door or barks an insult to jolt her awake. Bright lamps are trained on her face constantly. Major Swanepoel leans in, his breath hot and reeking of tobacco, and hisses degradations.
Nelson has forgotten you, stupid woman. He rots in prison while you rot in here. For nothing. Just talk and you can go home to your brats.
Winnie's knees tremble with fatigue, her head swims, but she pictures Nelson enduring his own hardships on Robben Island, refusing to betray his comrades. She draws strength from that image. She bites down on her tongue until she tastes blood, using the pain to stay alert. She will not give these men the satisfaction of hearing her beg.
I have nothing to say to you.
They shout, they threaten, but she repeats it like a mantra. Eventually, frustrated by her silence, they drag her back to her cell. She collapses onto the concrete, so weary she begins to hallucinate Nelson's voice, encouraging her. Hold on, my love. She allows herself a tiny smile in the darkness. She has passed their test. For now, weeks go by with no break in the routine of isolation and periodic torture. Her once vibrant eyes grow dull. Her cheekbones sharpen as she loses weight. But she clings to sanity by sheer willpower. She recites the names of her children, her sisters, her friends like a litany each day to remember why she must survive. Then one day, they employ a new cruelty. The guards haul her into an interrogation room adjoining another cell. They bind her to a chair and leave her facing a blank wall. Suddenly, from the other side of that wall, she hears the agonized screams of a prisoner being tortured. It goes on, shrieks of pain, pleas for mercy. Her blood turns to ice. She recognizes the voice. It is a friend, a fellow activist. She realizes with horror that they want her to hear this, to feel responsible for someone else's suffering.
Hear that? That is on you, Mrs. Mandela. Keep silent, and your comrades pay the price.
Each terrible scream on the other side is like a knife in her heart. She snaps, tears streaming. She breaks down sobbing.
Stop, please. I will tell you whatever you want. Just stop hurting him.
In that unbearable moment of guilt and despair, she gives them some names, any names she can remember, mostly people long in exile or already in custody. She would rather lie than actually betray anyone truly at large, but she is beyond rational thought. She just needs the torture to end. The screaming next door ceases. They have what they wanted. Winnie Mandela, the proud lioness, has been forced to submit. When they throw her back into her cell, she curls up on the floor, racked with silent sobs of shame.
I have failed. Oh God, I have failed. Nelson, forgive me.
Then another voice inside her, gentle but firm, perhaps sounding like Nelson, says, "Even the strongest tree bends in a hurricane." Winnie realizes no one could endure such hell unbending. The regime had shown it would stop at nothing. Through tears and chattering teeth, she promises herself, "If I survive this, I will never judge anyone for breaking, and I will never let them break me like that again." After 17 months, 491 days of imprisonment, with 13 months in strict solitary confinement, Winnie is finally released, having never been formally tried or convicted of anything. International pressure and outrage have been building about her case, and the government, sensing the political cost of killing or permanently disappearing Mandela's wife, relents. September 1970, Pretoria Central Prison gates. Winnie walks out, blinking in the sunlight. She is emaciated, weighing barely 90 pounds. Her once proud posture is slightly stooped. There is a tremor in her hands that was not there before, a lingering effect of trauma. Reporters gather around the frail figure in a simple dress. Flashbulbs pop. Winnie takes a moment to look up at the sky, so blue and open, and feels fresh air fill her lungs. She closes her eyes, whispers a quick prayer of gratitude, then drops to her knees and kisses the ground, overcome with emotion. Cameras capture the moment. Two small shapes dart from the crowd, Zinani and Zinzi, now 11 and 10 years old, running towards her. "Mama! Mama!" Winnie opens her arms, and the girls fling themselves at her. She hugs them tightly, tears streaming down her face. 17 months stolen, she thinks as she buries her face in their hair, but I am still alive, and I am still their mother. She looks up to see neighbors and friends gathered, ululating with joy at her release. They surround Mama Winnie, singing and crying, welcoming her home. Winnie musters a brave smile and waves, though her body is trembling from exhaustion and emotion. That night, in her own bed for the first time in over a year, Winnie lies awake. The room is dark and blessedly quiet, but when she closes her eyes, she is back in that cell, the walls closing in. She starts at the slightest creak of the house settling. Hours tick by. At some point before dawn, she allows herself to sob softly into her pillow, mourning the lost time with her children and the husband she could not even write to while she was in prison.
Nelson,
she whispers to the darkness.
I wish you were here.
But he is not. He is far away on Robben Island, not even knowing yet what she endured. Winnie wipes her tears on the pillow and vows,
I survived this. I'm still standing. They did not destroy me.
She breathes in deeply and exhales, imagining she is expelling the prison air from her lungs. Tomorrow is a new day, and Winnie will rise with it. She emerges from prison physically weakened. She became more defiant than ever. She famously tells a crowd of police officers upon her release,
"You cannot intimidate me anymore."
It is a bold declaration and largely true. After surviving solitary confinement and torture, she fears almost nothing. The 1970s bring a new wave of resistance in South Africa, led by a generation of youth who see Winnie as a hero and inspiration. She becomes a beacon for them, affectionately nicknamed Mama Winnie, the mother of the nation. Even as the government slaps her with new bans and restrictions every few years, she finds ways to mentor young activists and lend support to the struggle. In 1975, during a brief lapse in her banning order, she helps establish the Black Parents Association in Soweto to organize and support student activism. She is quietly working alongside people like Dr. Natato Motlana and a charismatic young leader named Steve Biko. Biko's Black consciousness movement is electrifying the youth, and Winnie admires his fearless critique of apartheid. His passion reignites her own hope that change will come. Then, in June 1976, the anger in the townships boils over. Thousands of Black school children in Soweto plan a march to protest a new decree forcing them to be taught in Afrikaans, the language of the oppressor. Winnie gets word that something big will happen on June 16th. She is anxious for the children, but incredibly proud of their courage to stand up. Anticipating confrontation, she and Dr. Motlana quietly arrange first aid stations and emergency teams, fearing the worst. The morning of June 16th, 1976 arrives. Despite winter's chill, excitement, and defiance heat the air, teenage students by the thousands pour into the streets, singing freedom songs and carrying signs. They are children, some as young as 12 or 13, in their school uniforms, faces set in determination. Winnie watches from a safe vantage, heart in her throat. Suddenly, at Orlando West High School, a confrontation. Dozens of police block the road ahead of the students. A tense standoff. Then, without warning, the police open fire with rifles and tear gas into the crowd of children. Chaos erupts. Bullets rain down on unarmed kids. Students at the front fall, some never to rise again. The young marchers scatter in terror, but bullets find their targets even among those running. At least 176 are killed that day. Official counts say 176, but Winnie and others believe the true number is far higher. Hundreds may have died in the ensuing days of clashes. She rushes toward the sound of gunfire, along with other community members, turning her prearranged clinics into triage centers. The scene that greets her is pure horror. She sees a boy, maybe 13, lying in the dusty street, blood spreading from a bullet wound in his chest. His school uniform is soaked in red. A classmate kneels by him, shaking and crying, not understanding why his friend won't wake up. Mothers run frantically, searching for their children amid the smoke and screams. An older student carries the limp body of a little girl, her pigtails bobbing lifelessly. The girl's shoes are missing, lost in the stampede. She finds a wounded child, a young girl of perhaps 7 or 8, hiding behind a trash bin, crying in pain. The child has been shot through the arm. She gently lifts her.
"It's okay. Baby, I have you. Stay with me. Stay with me."
The girl's blood smears her dress as she carries her to the makeshift clinic. She cradles her, wiping blood and tears from a face far too young to understand death. The child looks up at Winnie, eyes glassy, calling for her mother. Winnie chokes back a sob and forces a reassuring smile.
"Your mama will be here soon. Shh. You are so brave, my sweet."
She hands the girl over to a volunteer nurse, then goes back out again and again into the streets of Soweto that have become a war zone. What she witnesses will be seared into her memory forever. mothers wailing over the limp bodies of their children, young boys and girls running and falling, the crack of gunshots and the thudding of police-armored vehicles rolling down roads littered with school books and fallen satchels. At one point, she stumbles upon a horrific sight. A boy lies on his back, eyes open and unseeing, a bullet hole in his forehead, his little sister shaking his body, screaming, "Wake up!" Her vision blurs with tears and rage. She has seen death before, but nothing like this. This is slaughter.
How can they do this? Slaughter our children, our babies.
She screams inside, a silent scream of grief and fury that no one can hear over the sirens and chaos. In that moment, something in her psyche shifts. The grief she feels for these children, the same she had felt when she lost an infant sister years ago, mixes with a fury more intense than anything she has known. This day's horror multiplies her rage 1,000-fold. If she had any innocence or belief in the basic humanity of the regime left, it is utterly shattered. When the smoke clears, Soweto is a changed place. The uprising continues for days and then subsides, leaving a trail of funerals and fury. She attends dozens of burials, holding grieving mothers as they cry over small coffins. She helps organize legal aid for youths who were arrested in the aftermath, and she comforts the traumatized where she can. To the community, her presence is a balm. She is one of the few leaders left standing who can share their pain and give them courage. To the apartheid regime, she has never been more dangerous, a black woman who will not be silenced, inspiring the youth to rebellion with every word and deed. It is not long before the authorities decide to remove her once again. In August 1976, mere weeks after the uprising, police storm her house and arrest her yet again. They accuse her of instigating the student riots. Though nothing could be further from the truth, the uprising was a spontaneous explosion of anger. But her very influence is enough for them. She is detained for 5 months, much of it in another filthy cell. This time, she contracts painful stomach ulcers due to stress and poor prison conditions. When they finally release her in December 1976 without charges, she can barely stand upright from illness. And yet, no sooner is she out than the regime delivers another blow. In January 1977, they issue her a new banning order, even stricter than before, confining her to her house from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and forbidding her from leaving the Johannesburg area at all. They are tightening the noose around her neck, trying to cut her off from the lifeblood of the movement, as they say. Little does she know, an even crueler fate is just around the corner. In the pre-dawn darkness of May 15th, 1977, she is startled awake by yet another furious pounding on her door. Not again. She throws on a coat and answers. This time, the security police don't bother with a search. An officer brusquely announces that by order of the state, she is being banished from Johannesburg effective immediately. She has 5 minutes to gather her things. Half asleep and shaking with anger, she scrambles to throw a few dresses and toiletries into a bag. Banishment? She is confused, outraged.
What do you mean banished? You can't just uproot me. My children.
Your children are not here, Mrs. Mandela. They are safe in boarding school, aren't they? You can't live in Johannesburg anymore. That is all you need to know.
2 policemen grab her arms and escort her out before she can even put on proper shoes. Outside, a small convoy of police vehicles waits in the gloom. 1 or 2 close friends, alerted by the commotion, stand at a distance, tears in their eyes. Winnie spots one dear friend and lunges to give her a quick hug before officers yank her back. They shove her into a car. As the engine starts, she cranes her neck to look out the back window. Through the dawn's first light, she sees her world receding the dusty streets of Soweto, the little houses and chapels of the only community she has known since marrying Nelson. Neighbors are peeking out, some weeping, some raising clenched fists in solidarity, but they all blur as the car speeds away. She presses her forehead to the glass, watching Soweto fade into the distance, swallowed by the morning mist. Exile. She whispers the word to herself, scarcely believing it. The government has decided that even in prison or house arrest, she was too influential. Now they will cast her out into the wilderness, hoping finally to break her spirit. They inform her en route of her destination, Brandfort, a tiny, desolate town in the Orange Free State, nearly 400 kilometers from home. When she arrives after the long, tense journey, she finds a decrepit 4-room house assigned to her with no electricity, no running water, in a dusty, segregated black township called Fathakale. She stands there as the police unload her meager bags and then leave without ceremony, dust from their departing cars blowing in her face. The silence that follows is deafening. At first, Brandfort feels like a living tomb. Local white authorities have warned the black residents that a dangerous terrorist woman has been exiled among them, so people keep their distance. On her first day, she walks the dirt streets and senses eyes watching from behind curtains, but no one greets her. She is completely alone. For the first time, she truly understands a fraction of Nelson's loneliness on Robben Island. At least she thinks, he knows he is loved by millions. I am dropped here with nobody. She sits on her thin mattress that night, enveloped in an eerie quiet with no children playing, no traffic, unlike Soweto. A single candle is her only light. She allows one hot tear to roll down her cheek.
At least he knows I love him. Who knows I'm here?
She curls up and spends a dark night of the soul fighting off despair. But come dawn, she refuses to be defeated. Her spirit is not easily broken. If the regime wanted her isolated, she will do the opposite. She will build a new community around her. So, in the days and weeks that follow, she forces herself up and out. She knocks on doors, introduces herself to wary locals, and offers to help where she can. She notices the poverty and lack of services in Brandfort's black township, hungry children, unemployed youth idling about. The dangerous terrorist turns out to be a godsend for Fathakale. She starts a community soup kitchen from her home, sharing whatever funds or food she can get. She sets up a garden project to help families grow vegetables. She opens a makeshift clinic, drawing on her social work background to treat the sick, and even a daycare so young mothers can go look for work. At first, only a few curious or desperate souls come, but they soon realize this elegant, soft-spoken woman is genuinely here to help. Children begin to play in her yard. Women come by to trade sewing tips. Despite the initial fear, people start to trickle into her life. She had been sent to isolation, but instead she cultivates solidarity. At night, however, when the township grows quiet, she writes letters by kerosene lamp. She writes and writes, smuggling out missives to international media, human rights organizations, anyone who might listen. She writes of the daily injustices and the horrors of apartheid, of what happened in Soweto in 1976, of prisoners like Nelson languishing for simply demanding freedom. Over and over, she pens the phrase "Free Nelson Mandela," sending that call out into the world from her lonely exile. Each letter is a tiny spark meant to keep the flame of resistance alive. Her loneliness in Brandfort is intense, but her purpose burns brighter. They will not erase the name Mandela as long as I have breath, she tells herself. Winnie endures 8 long years in banishment, years that would break lesser souls. But even in isolation, she becomes a legend. Under growing internal and global pressure, the apartheid regime lifts her banishment in 1986. She returns to Soweto to a heroine's welcome. To oppressed South Africans, she transforms into a symbol of resistance, a battle-scarred general returning from the front lines. Thousands line the streets, singing and cheering for Mama Winnie. Now in her mid-50s, she walks with her head high, the scars of her past invisible under a fiery determination. The struggle in the late 1980s grows even more intense protests, international sanctions, and, unfortunately, escalating violence. She jumps back into activism with vigor, giving impassioned speeches that electrify the youth, urging them to never stop fighting for their freedom. To many, she is the mother of the nation, the one who kept the flame alive during the darkest times. Through every act, whether defiant or controversial, she ensures that the name Mandela blazes across headlines around the world. She will not let Mandela's dream die in a cell, not after so much sacrifice. Year after year, pressure builds on the apartheid regime, and finally it crumbles. The unthinkable happens. Nelson Mandela is going to be freed. It is February 11th, 1990, a day etched in history. At Victor Verster Prison's gates, crowds of people from around the globe have gathered under the hot sun. Winnie waits on the other side of the gate, trembling with anticipation and joy. She straightens her dress, the same black, green, and gold ANC colors she wore when she last visited Nelson. Her heart feels like it might burst. Suddenly, the prison gates swing open. There he is, Nelson, walking out a free man after 27 years. He is older now, 71 years old, hair silvery, but he stands tall and dignified, a smile of pure happiness on his face. The crowd erupts in a deafening roar. Nelson clasps Winnie's hand in his. They step forward together, side by side, into the flash of cameras and the embrace of the world. Nelson lifts his right arm and clenches his fist in victory. Winnie lifts hers as well, their hands still interlocked. Her face is radiant. Tears of joy stream down her cheeks as she raises her fist high. In that moment, the world sees not just the triumphant Mandela, but also the loyal wife who stood unflinchingly through nearly 3 decades of struggle. Nelson turns to Winnie amidst the cheering crowd. Cameras capture him leaning toward her. In the midst of the noise, he speaks a few simple words only she can hear. "Thank you." His voice cracks with emotion. It is a simple phrase, laden with all the gratitude of a man who knows he owes his life, in part, to this woman's courage. Winnie's eyes shine as she smiles back at him, squeezing his hand. This is the climax of their shared journey, a love and mission that overcame the most daunting odds. 27 years of pain, separation, and struggle have led to this triumphant reunion. Winnie kept the flame burning all those years, and now Nelson walks free into a new South Africa because of it. As they ride together through the streets, crowds of people chanting their names, Winnie feels a surge of emotion unlike any she has known. Pride, relief, vindication, and a profound, heartbreaking happiness. She fought, she suffered, she sacrificed everything for this moment of freedom. And though the road ahead for the nation will be challenging, in this moment under the bright African sun, Winnie allows herself to truly feel the catharsis, the release of decades of sorrow in exchange for hope. Tears stream down her face as she waves to the jubilant crowds. She looks over at Nelson, the love of her life, and sees tears on his cheeks too. They share a smile, and Winnie silently thanks whatever powers sustained them. Nelson gently lifts their clasped hands to show unity. He could not have done this without her. Without Winnie's unyielding support and fearless advocacy, he might have been forgotten in prison. But he emerges a legend, ready to lead his people to freedom. The world will remember Nelson Mandela, but those who know the truth will always honor Winnie as the indomitable flame keeper behind that victory. As cheering crowds run alongside their car, singing and laughing, Winnie closes her eyes for a second. She pictures that midnight raid long ago, the terrified young mother she was, dragged away in the dark. She recalls the vow she made to herself in a lonely cell. "I will not let them break me." And she thinks of the countless souls lost along the way, the children of Soweto, dear Steve Biko, and so many others. And she knows the struggle is far from over, but their sacrifices were not in vain. She opens her eyes to the bright day. She has kept her promise. They did not break her. Instead, she broke them. She helped break the chains of apartheid. In the surge of howling voices and raised fists all around, Winnie feels Nelson squeeze her hand. She squeezes back.
We did it, my love. We are free.
Winnie smiles, a tear slipping down.
Yes, free.
Their car moves forward slowly, and behind it, the massive crowd follows, singing the anthem of freedom at the top of their lungs. Winnie and Nelson raise their fists together in time to the song. In this extraordinary moment, husband and wife stand united after so many years, two weary warriors at the dawn of a new era. And as the music swells and cameras flash, Winnie Madikizela Mandela lifts her eyes to the sky and silently thanks the ancestors. Through love, through unyielding courage and faith, they have won. Winnie's story is one of incandescent resilience. In the face of unspeakable oppression, she found within herself a well of strength deeper than fear. She was not perfect. No hero is. But through love and sheer force of will, she kept hope alive in the darkness. Let's now move into the lessons you can learn from. How did Winnie Mandela help shape Nelson Mandela into the world icon he became? What role did she play as his partner during those crucial years? Here at the Kingmakers podcast, we look for patterns, recurring themes, and how supportive partners empower great leaders. In Winnie's case, I like to call her pattern the flame keeper. The flame keeper. The partner who keeps the flame of hope and purpose burning when its original bearer cannot. Winnie exemplified this pattern with almost legendary fervor. Let's break down what that meant in her relationship with Nelson. Unyielding advocacy. Winnie became Nelson's voice when his own was silenced. While he endured prison, she stood on the front lines, rallying the people with the cry, "Free Mandela." She ensured that the name Mandela stayed alive in every township whisper and every international sanctioned debate. For example, in the late 70s and 80s, when the apartheid regime tried to erase Nelson from public consciousness, Winnie organized protests, gave interviews to foreign media, and even defied banishment orders to speak at rallies. Her fearless advocacy meant that by the time Nelson was released, he returned to a country and a world that already regarded him as the symbol of justice, thanks in large part to Winnie's groundwork. This flame keeper quality, refusing to let the light of her husband's mission go out, was absolutely crucial. Without Winnie stoking the fire, Nelson's imprisonment might have led to obscurity. Instead, he emerged as a legend. Courage and sacrifice. Being the flame keeper required tremendous personal sacrifice. Winnie withstood imprisonment, torture, surveillance, and years of loneliness, all because she was devoted to Nelson and the cause they shared. Picture her in that solitary cell for 13 months, or alone in exile in Brantford for 8 years. She could have chosen a quieter, safer life, faded into the background. But she chose to fight on, knowing it was the only way to honor Nelson's sacrifices in prison. This courage was not just for show. It directly bolstered Nelson's own resolve. In his darkest hours on Robben Island, he knew Winnie was out there enduring everything yet not giving up on him. That knowledge gave him strength to persevere. As Nelson himself noted later,
My wife kept the struggle alive.
She was the backbone that allowed him to become the leader he was destined to be. Winnie's willingness to risk everything for Nelson's vision is the hallmark of a true kingmaker. She put their shared purpose above her personal comfort, and in doing so, she paved the way for his victory. Resilient support and inspiration. Winnie's very presence in the movement inspired countless others and, by extension, amplified Nelson's impact. South Africans affectionately called her Mother of the Nation because she nurtured the spirit of resistance during those bleak years. She mentored youth activists, provided aid to political prisoners' families, and even established social programs like clinics and schools in poor areas when the government would not. In doing so, She kept Nelson's dream for a just society alive at the grassroots level. Importantly, she also offered emotional support to Nelson in the few ways available. Through censored letters and those rare prison visits, Winnie conveyed love and encouragement. Imagine Nelson, hunched over a precious letter in his cell, reading Winnie's words.
I am holding everything together, Madiba. Don't worry about us. Just keep your head high.
That emotional lifeline was invaluable. It kept Nelson mentally and emotionally ready to lead when freedom came. Winnie's blend of tenderness and ferocity, comforting her husband on one hand and fiercely challenging their oppressors on the other, is a defining feature of the Flamekeeper pattern. She protected Nelson's legacy and spirit like a guardian at the gate. Winnie Mandela was indeed instrumental in Nelson's rise because she provided what he physically could not during those decades, a constant presence on the battlefield of justice. Her advocacy made him internationally known. Her sacrifices gave his struggle moral weight. Her resilience inspired a movement that waited for his leadership. She was not a passive supporter. She was an active partner in destiny, pushing him forward even while separated by iron bars. The Flamekeeper pattern reminds us that behind many great figures, there is someone tending the fire, ensuring it never dies out. Winnie kept Nelson's flame burning brightly through the darkest night until together they could carry it into the dawn of freedom. Now that we have identified the Flamekeeper role Winnie played, let's translate her journey into some lessons you can apply to your own life or relationships. Winnie and Nelson's story is extraordinary. Most of us, thankfully, will never face the kind of oppression they did. But the essence of their journey holds powerful lessons for anyone seeking a strong, values-driven relationship. Let's draw out 3 specific, actionable takeaways from their journey that you can apply to finding or becoming a supportive partner in your own life. 1. Align on a shared purpose and core values. One striking thing about Winnie and Nelson is how deeply they shared the same vision. Both believed, to their cores, in freedom, equality, and the dignity of their people. This common purpose bound them together across years of separation. You and your partner might not be leading a nation to freedom, but having a shared mission or compatible values is just as crucial. It might be a commitment to family, faith, a business venture, or community service, something you both ardently believe in. When you and a partner align on what truly matters, your why, it creates a powerful unity. Your action. Talk with your partner or potential partner about your core values and life goals. Do they resonate with each other? Finding someone who gets your purpose and whose purpose you support in return will form a rock-solid foundation. As Winnie and Nelson showed, shared values can carry you through the toughest storms. 2. Stand by each other through the storms. Every relationship will face hardships, though hopefully not as extreme as prison and exile. The Mandelas teach us the value of unwavering support and loyalty when times get tough. Winnie could have crumbled or walked away when her husband was locked up for life, but instead she doubled down on her commitment. Nelson, in turn, held Winnie in the highest esteem despite years of forced separation. Your action. Be the kind of partner who stays in the boat when the seas get rough. If your loved one loses a job, falls ill, or encounters a personal crisis, show up for them. Sometimes support means active problem solving. Other times it means a shoulder to lean on or defending your partner when they are not around, and seek a partner who does the same for you. Knowing you have each other's backs builds unshakable trust. It is the through thick and thin promise in action. Winnie's loyalty through 27 turbulent years exemplifies that real love is steadfast, not fair weather. 3. Empower each other to greatness. Be each other's champion. A true kingmaker partner does not compete with their loved one's success. They celebrate it and facilitate it. Winnie was not threatened by Nelson's greatness. She actively fueled it, even at personal cost. In healthy relationships, each person pushes the other to become the best version of themselves. Your action: look for a partner who will hype you up, encourage your dreams, and also lovingly challenge you when you stray from them, and strive to be that champion for your partner. This might mean simple actions like reminding them of their strengths when they doubt themselves, or practical help like taking on extra chores so they can pursue a degree or business. It can also mean constructive honesty. Winnie, for example, was never afraid to speak her mind to Nelson, which he respected. Being each other's champion creates a powerful synergy. When one of you stumbles, the other is there to lift you up, and every win for one is a win for both. Ask yourself, how can I help my partner shine? As well as, does this person bring out the best in me? If both answers are yes, you are on the right track. These 3 lessons, shared purpose, unwavering support, and mutual empowerment, are part of the legacy Winnie and Nelson offer to us. We can apply them whether we are dating, married, or still searching for that special someone. Start small. Discuss values on your next date. Stand by a friend or partner in a challenge they are facing this week, or cheer on a loved one's ambition with genuine enthusiasm. Over time, these little practices become the bedrock of epic, kingmaker caliber relationships. Remember, you don't have to be fighting apartheid to be a hero in your relationship. By living these principles, you are quietly doing something revolutionary. You are proving that love, loyalty, and shared values can change lives. Values Minute, reflective exercise. Now, let's finish with a brief reflective exercise, our Values Minute, to connect Winnie's story to our own personal growth. I invite you now into our Values Minute, a short, heartful reflection to wrap up today's story. Take a deep breath with me and close your eyes if you can. Think about one core value that Winnie Mandela embodied. There are many: courage, loyalty, love, but let's focus on resilience. Resilience is the ability to withstand trials and recover, to keep hope alive through hardships. Winnie's life was a masterclass in resilience. Every time she was knocked down, she stood back up, often with even more determination. Now, I want you to consider how resilience plays a role in your relationships. Think of a challenge you have faced, maybe a rough patch in a past relationship, a disagreement with someone you care about, or a personal struggle that affected your love life. How did you respond? How might Winnie's example inspire you to face the inevitable challenges of life and love with more patience and strength? For the next 60 seconds, reflect quietly on this. How can I practice resilience in my relationships? Perhaps it means forgiving someone and rebuilding trust after an argument. Maybe it is staying optimistic and proactive in your search for a partner, even after disappointment. Or maybe it is supporting your significant other's dreams, even when the path is difficult. Resilience could even be as simple as being consistent and present day by day. There is no right or wrong answer. It is about what resilience looks like to you. All right, take another deep breath and gently open your eyes. I hope that brief reflection sparked something meaningful for you. Winnie's legacy teaches us that resilience is not just about surviving. It is about holding on to hope and love through the storm. If you can carry a bit of that spirit into your own life, if you can be resilient for those you love and for yourself, you will find that even the toughest times can lead to growth and deeper bonds. Episode Recap. Lesson 1. Mission-aligned partners are unstoppable. We saw this in how Winnie and Nelson Mandela's shared dream of freedom bonded them against all odds. A common cause gave their love purpose and helped them endure 27 years of separation to achieve the extraordinary together. Lesson 2. The warrior partner pattern. This is the partner who is both your protector and your champion. Winnie embodied this by fearlessly keeping Nelson's mission alive and defending his legacy when he was silenced behind bars. She showed that a true partner will step up and lead in your absence, fighting for your shared dream as fiercely as if it were their own. Lesson 3. Sacrifice, resilience, and unity of purpose are the building blocks of a revolutionary relationship. These were the fundamentals by which Winnie and Nelson turned their relationship into a force for change, each becoming a kingmaker for the other. Winnie endured hardship and loneliness, raising their children alone and standing strong through exile and imprisonment. That unyielding resilience not only kept hope alive, but also fueled the momentum that eventually brought their people to freedom. Lesson 4. Show unwavering support and courage in your own life. Attracting a partner who will stand by you through anything begins with being that steadfast ally yourself. By living your values boldly and supporting the people you love through hardships, you set the stage to find or become a partner who will fight alongside you when it matters most. What a journey today. Thank you for traveling with me through the epic life of Winnie Mandela. Her story leaves us with so much to think about. Would you like to have your own Winnie in your life? That is, a partner who will stand by you and raise you, or perhaps to be a Winnie for someone you love. At African Caribbean Matchmaking Agency, that is our mission. We help you become the best version of yourself and connect you to a high-quality partner who shares your values and purpose. We believe everyone deserves a flame keeper kind of love, and we are here to guide you on that journey. We have developed a masterclass on the art of choosing the right partner, packed with insights and practical tips for values-driven singles. It is essentially a deeper dive into the kinds of principles we touched on today, with exercises, examples from not just the Mandelas, but many other remarkable couples, as well as findings from relationship psychology. You can sign up by clicking the masterclass link below this video or in the show notes. It is a great way to continue this journey of growth and reflection, and it is our way of helping as many people as possible build the foundations for healthy, lasting relationships. Now, maybe you are listening and thinking, this all sounds great, and I'm ready for that kind of great relationship now. I just need some guidance tailored to me. If so, consider signing up for our relationship readiness audit. That is a one-to-one session via Zoom with either me or a member of our coaching team. In that personal call, we will help you assess where you are on your journey and how to attract the partner who truly aligns with your purpose and values. It is a chance to talk through your specific situation, maybe past patterns that have not worked or challenges you are facing in finding the right person, and get some personalized feedback and next steps. Spots are limited since we dedicate focused time to each audit. So if it is something you want, do book your slot soon by clicking the audit link below. I want to stress, these resources are here as support, not a hard sales pitch. I genuinely believe that with the right tools and self-awareness, everyone can improve their odds of finding a fulfilling, soul-enriching relationship. And the more people who form strong, values-based relationships, the better our communities become. Healthy couples tend to do a lot of good around them. Look at the Mandelas. Their relationship did not just elevate them. It fueled a movement that uplifted millions and changed the course of a nation. That is the ripple effect of a healthy, purpose-driven relationship. As we close, hold on to this thought. The story of Nelson and Winnie Mandela reminds us that the right relationship does not hold you back. It helps you become more of who you are meant to be. Even under unimaginable pressure, their bond gave each of them strength and purpose. So, imagine for a moment what having that kind of partner could unlock in your life. Someone who sees your potential even when you doubt yourself. Someone who is not afraid to challenge you to live up to your values, yet stands by you at your lowest and celebrates you at your highest. What doors might open for you? in your career, in your personal growth, in your happiness. If you had a love like that, it is a beautiful vision, isn't it? And here is the key thing. It is not just for fairy tales or famous historical figures. It is something you can seek and build in your own life, step by step. We at the Kingmakers would love to help you get there. That is why we are here on this podcast, to learn from these stories and to apply the lessons. So if today's episode spoke to you, consider taking that masterclass or booking a readiness audit. Or simply start with a small step. Have a heart-to-heart conversation with someone you trust about what you learned from Winnie's story. Sometimes reflecting out loud with a friend or journaling about your own values can kickstart real change. Thank you sincerely for listening. I know this was a deep dive and an emotional one, and I appreciate you sticking with it to the end. I hope you found it as enriching and moving as I did. If you enjoyed today's story, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with someone who would love this message. Maybe even share it with the Nelson to your Winnie, if you have found that person, or with a friend who is searching for their own king or queen maker. In our next episode, we will explore another incredible kingmaker story. I won't spoil it fully, but here is a hint. We're traveling to the United States to meet a woman who became co-president with her disabled husband. It is a very different context from the Mandelas, but equally rich in love, sacrifice, and lessons for us all. I promise it is a fascinating tale that will inspire and enlighten. Until then, stay true to your values, keep believing in the power of love and relationship, and remember, you have the power to make those around you kings and queens, just as they have the power to do the same for you. Keep an eye out for those rare people who try to lift you higher. And when you find them, treasure them. This is Romeo Richards, your host at the Kingmakers Podcast, signing off. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.